And welcome to Understanding Photography with Kim Ayres. Episode 134. Here we are, live on YouTube. Yes, festive fun, that was the idea today. Send me in your images of what Christmassy, festive-y kind of things this time of year. So I've had a few photos in, so we're going to look through them and have a little bit of fun. So that's the plan. Stay tuned. So, welcome, hello. Yes, episode 134. This is the last podcast of this year. Because next Sunday is Christmas Day and the Sunday after that is New Year's Day. So I'll be back on the 8th of January, will be the one following this. So what we decided to do was have a little bit of festive fun. I asked people to send in their sort of Christmassy images, and so we're going to take a look through them and see what everybody's put and share in the fun of it. If you're watching live here on YouTube now, leave a comment, and there's a chat box there. You can chat away, wish each other season's greetings, happy holidays, whatever festival happens to be appealing to you. I mean, we know it's Christmas. There's also Hanukkah. There's the midwinter solstice here in a couple of days, the midsummer solstice down in the southern hemisphere, and there could be all sorts of other celebrations as well. So have the excuse. I can see we've got a couple of comments in already. Let's see, Maggie says, dark, cold and damp here in southwest Scotland. Well, it is winter, I suppose. This is very true. After our extreme cold spell, it's warmed just 1 or 2 degrees above freezing, but that's also meant we've actually had a bit of snow and sleet, and it's just kind of a bit damp and miserable at the moment. Meg says, hello everyone, and also have a wonderful new year. Viji says, good evening, a beautiful night here. Viji's in India, where it's a lot warmer. April says, hello everyone in a sunny and somewhat cold Long Island, New York. Happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. Very cute. Give Merry Christmas to all in advance. Maggie says, season's greetings to you too, April. Rosemary says, good morning, Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all. And Viji also says, Merry Christmas and a very happy new year. So we have people in, we have photos to look at. What are we going to do? Let me sort of make a little adjustment here, line things up. So, where should we make a start? So we've had about half a dozen people or so send in different images. And we had 1 or 2 questions as well. So we're going to kind of answer that. I do hope everybody. There is that sort of slight thing where sometimes I think it's okay to say Merry Christmas. Sometimes there are some people who seem to think that you've got to be careful about saying that in case you offend somebody. But I don't think anybody ever gets offended by it. It's like, who gets offended by Happy Hanukkah? You don't have to be Jewish to enjoy the fact that somebody's celebrating, or Happy Diwali. If somebody's celebrating and they're wishing you good feelings because of a time of year when you're celebrating, then hey, let's all share in the good feelings of it. Who on earth ever becomes offended by somebody else wishing them well? I could go off on a bit of a rant on that, but I won't, because hey, it's the season of goodwill. So let's keep to the goodwill. Right, of course, one of the other things we have at the moment, I'm very aware, is as this is running, I think the World Cup football is at kick-off at the moment, so we may well have fewer people watching live today. Having said that, Nadia's just joined us and said, hi everyone, glad you could make it along, Nadia. So what we have here are the hardcore of those who enjoy understanding photography, who are not into football, I think. Right, so let's see what we've got. Let's kick off. So let's kick off actually with Meg. So my daughter Meg also wanted to take part. Oh, actually, just saying here, see that Stella has joined us and says, Merry Christmas and good morning. And Merry Christmas to you too, Stella. Stacey, sorry. Right, okay, so Meg said, hi Dad. So Meg, the other day, actually for the past couple of weeks, since I mentioned the notion of doing a kind of festive fun thing, Meg's been really keen on the idea of trying to get a photo to put in. So she's been sort of trying out different things and trying bits outside and with the snow and not snow, but the ice and what have you. But basically we thought, well, maybe once we've got the Christmas decorations up, she could give that a go. So Sure enough, we got the tree up the other day, and where are we? No, not that. Where do I need? I need to do that and that. There we go. Hooray! Yes. So this is Meg's photo. So just for those of you who might be wondering about the kind of more traditional fir tree, Christmas tree style thing, we've not really done one of those for many years. What we do, Maggie, what we do is we collect branches from there. There's a big sort of set of trees at the back of the garden, which always have overhanging branches, and so every year I tend to go and cut off a few of the branches. And, well, I say branches, they're kind of like, well, somewhere between a small branch and a large twig. And then Maggie arranges them into a bowl and a pot, and then strings them with lights, and we kind of make our own tree that way. And we've kind of really got into having that. So consequently, what you see here is like it's an indoor tree, but not a kind of live Christmas tree or a plastic tree. So it's twigs and branches decorated up. So Meg particularly liked this bauble. And so you can see I got this clear. It's got with kind of bits of kind of frosting kind of stuff on it, and I think some of this is actually possibly picking up some of the light, because that's not actually brown, so I think that must be reflecting something else off the tree. So Meg said, "Hi Dad, I really love the light reflecting in the clear Christmas bauble, because it's got really nice lines of the branches and it gives you calmness when you look at it, and it's really lovely." And I thought it was a lovely way to start this one. So yeah, I think Meg's got it right. There is something intensely calming, I think, about just sort of once, maybe there's all the rush and the intensity to try and, if you get all the decorations up and everything else. But once it's up and just sort of sitting there at night in the evening, the lights are on, and you can just kind of stare at the tree a bit, and there is a sense of calm, sometimes a bit of a sense of excitement, but certainly, these kind of clear baubles and what have you, and they kind of reflect and refract the light. So lovely photo, and I thought lovely way to start the podcast. So smug points to you there, Meg, for that photo, I think. We've got a few more comments here. So Rosemary says, Woody looks wonderfully festive, as do the bookshelf lights. So yes, you could, and we actually have to sort of say, Meg here, I think Maggie gave her a wee bit of a hand, but Meg pretty much created the little Christmas hat for him there as well. And of course we've got wee Christmas bauble sitting there, and the festive lights. Well, yeah, I thought, let's see, if I'm doing a Christmas one, I better string up some lights behind me as well. So yeah, glad you're noticing the festivities there, Rosemary. Oh, Jack's joined us. Says hello everyone and Merry Christmas to all. Stacey says my friend here is watching the football, American and soccer World Cup. I was watching the American football and the World Cup soccer. Huh? Well, you've got two TVs and just kind of flicking back and forth, is it? Rosemary says, Meg, that's pretty and festive. It has a restful feel, lovely sharp focus on the bauble. And April says, that's a cool idea, Ayres family. Love the bauble ornament. And April also says, love it, Meg. So, good start to our little bit of festive photography. So next up then, we're going to look at Rosemary. So Rosemary sent in this one. And she says, hi Kim and Merry Christmas. Here's my contribution to the holiday festivities. You could call it Santa's Little Helper. I go on record as not being a fan of the Hairless Sphinx breed of cats. But this little fellow belongs to my daughter. You love your child, and that pets kind of come as part of the package. For all his many issues, the kitten does have a delightful and very large personality. I managed to catch him poised under a stack of presents under the tree last Christmas morning, where he was showing off his status as King of the Mountain. It was a rare moment of stillness in an otherwise whirlwind of kitten activity. I'm looking forward to seeing what festive images others send in. It's always inspiring to see how others approach a prompt. So yeah, that's a great show. So you managed to catch this one last year, Rosemary. The hairless cat always, I think, just looks odd, basically because we're so used to the idea of a cat with hair. Is mostly, we don't think looks odd what we're used to. We think looks odd what we're not used to, and I'm not particularly used to hairless cats. But I think the fact that you managed to capture your kitten, just as you say, at a moment of stillness, sitting on sitting on the presents with a little a little t-shirt, is it, on as well. It's a lovely capture. Nice layout of photos, good composition with that one too. You've got the presents, you've got the tree, you've got the cat. Nice set of rule of thirds while you're thrown into it. So yeah, smug points there, Rosemary, and thank you very much for sending that one in. What have we got here? Meg saying thank you for your kind words, everyone. Stacey says cute kitty. April says oh my gosh, so cute, very creative shot. Nadia says lovely picture. Rosemary says not only do they look odd, they're really greasy. Ew. Greasy. Oh dear. Okay, I was trying to hold back on my judgment about these kittens, but you're not helping much there, Rosemary. Okay, that was lovely. Right, next thing, let's go to Viji. Now, Viji sent me a couple of different photos, and I've decided to include two because they're quite different from each other. And the first one is the fact, because I said, well, you know, I mean, what I said was send in festive celebration for this time of year. And so for Viji in India, the nearest kind of big festival is, try and remember how to pronounce this right, Karthigai Deepam. I hope that's right, Viji. Karthigai Deepam. Now, she says Karthigai Deepam is one of the oldest festivals celebrated in the southern part of India, especially in Tamil Nadu. So let me put this one up. I thought this was rather glorious, this photo. The festival dates back to 200 BCE and is one of the oldest festivals on record. The Festival of Lights is celebrated in the northern parts of India during Diwali, and we celebrate the festival separately during the month of November and for 3 days. We do this kind of decoration with rice flour or flowers and decorate the whole house with lamps. I've included marigold, button roses in orange and red, and chrysanthemums, along with earthenware lamp with cotton wicks dipped in sesame oil. At the centre you will find a bronze vessel filled with water and some flowers floating on them. Though it was celebrated in November, I thought about adding this photograph. So that's beautiful. I mean, I think it's, and I appreciate you sending that one and giving us a bit of background on this festival too, Viji. Yeah, a lot of these festivals, if you're celebrating the notion of light, colour, candles, flames, these end up being almost kind of universal symbols in a way, or just because as well it's light, isn't it? You know, and especially, I mean, for Christmas being a winter festival in the UK and the Northern Hemisphere. Generally, lights and candles always tend to be a part of it, but if you've got a festival of light, you're going to have candles. This is lovely. It's beautifully colourful. I love it. You've got it on the round glass table, so I would guess in real life, as you're kind of seeing it, not just in the camera as well, that's going to kind of add to the reflections and light as well. So beautiful photo. So thank you for sending that one in, Viji. So, comments here. April says, pretty, has a very spring feel to it. Rosemary says, very pretty, Viji. What a lot of work to set up, but worth the effort. Stacey says, very interesting and colourful. Maggie says, very uplifting with candles and colour. And Nadia says, very nice, Viji, too. And Viji says, thank you. Now, Viji, however, for all the fact that Viji doesn't celebrate Christmas at home, she does at the office. So, she also sent in this one. So she said, here's another my contribution to holiday festivities. You could call it Santa's Little Helper, which, no, sorry, I'm reading Rosemary's there, not Viji's. I'm sure I've just read that out. Let me find the right bit of note. Okay, here we go. Yes, so Viji said, as a festival, we do not celebrate Christmas at home. But who doesn't like Santa and Christmas tree and decorations? At the office, we celebrate festivals of all the religions. My desk always looks festive during Christmas. So the house and the tree here. So we've got a house with Santa going down the chimney, snowman here, tree in the background. are made of wood and have been designed by our in-house designer for one of our product lines for children called Kiddle. So, Viji's company, the company where Viji works, is has this whole Kiddle thing. I remember we've chatted a bit before. There's different kinds of toys and science kits and all sorts of things that are created for children. So this has been designed and built for the Kiddle range of products, and Viji says, so as the product owner, I always get to sample first to test it out. I've also included wallpaper from my system as an accessory, and this I have to say I love. So as well as the fact that we've got the house and the tree and a Santa hat and cone and baubles, what I love the fact that Viji has done is she's got a Christmas picture on her laptop and had included that into the background, which I thought was a really creative way of doing. If you, given the fact that you're not going to get a kind of Northern European winter in southern India, bringing up a picture on the laptop to use as part of a backdrop, I thought was quite inspired. So smug points to you there, Viji. Both for the Karthigai Deepam set up and for this as well. So double smug points for Viji. Viji says I have pronounced it right. Oh, that's good. April says I love the tiny Santa going down the chimney. Stacey says I've seen so many around here. I would put up something, but trying to load a new computer. So a new computer that'll kind of massively mess up your whole kind of. Yeah, my tablets decided to just lock me out a few days ago, and there was nothing I could do except do a full factory reset, which has been a bit real pain. So I had to do that, which means I've had to re-upload. I'm still in the process of uploading photos to that, so I feel your pain, Stacey. So Viji says, thank you, Kim. And Rosemary says, agreed, clever to incorporate a computer wallpaper. Right, okay, where are we on to now then? So next up, Marilyn. So Marilyn wasn't sure whether she was going to be able to make it along live, but she did put in a picture. Where's Marilyn's picture? There we go. And so Marilyn said, hi Kim, here's a photo for Sunday. It's the iconic giant Christmas ornaments in New York City across from Radio City Music Hall. Quite a fun thing to see. If you can talk a little bit about shooting holiday lights at night, that would be great. So, I mean, yeah, we've all got baubles, and, as you've seen already, we've got Woody holding one here. But of course, these ones are just on an entirely different scale. If Woody's got a tiny one, these ones look absolutely huge. I mean, they look as probably a good 1.5 meters wide or more, each one. So that's, a lot of fun, and I think well spotted there, Marilyn. And I know you've got that lovely bright kind of triangle of red, the one sitting off to one side. You've got all the Christmas tree lights behind, the water around it. And it's a wonderfully festive and it's a very city photo with the tower blocks behind. Now, you've mentioned the idea of a tip or two for Christmas lights, photographing Christmas lights, and this got me thinking about the idea of bokeh or bokeh or bokeh. That when you go for the fuzzy background bit, and so but. In essence, what happens is when you've got lights in the background behind the main subject. So we notice this particularly like when Meg's photographing the bauble or whatever, there's lights kicking about. Now, depending on the setting on your camera, it can have a profound effect on the way the light interacts with the lens of the camera. And you can go from that very soft, dreamy, creamy, round effect right through to brilliant starburst, where you've got lines shooting out from the light. And whether you end up with soft and creamy or starburst depends massively on your aperture. So what I thought I would do is just, if you're just shoving your camera on auto settings, there's not a lot you can do. But if you are one of these people who likes to override the auto settings, or what you do is you put your camera on aperture priority. And an aperture priority, if you've got the option there, allows you to adjust the aperture, and then everything else the camera will sort out the rest of it for you. Now, what I did was I took a set of photos. And in fact, actually, it's the same bauble, just from a different angle that Meg took. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So here we go. Here we've got Christmas bauble. And what I did was I set the camera at 500 ISO. So I fixed it at 500 ISO. I put it on aperture priority, and I set this then to f2.8. So f2.8 on my macro lens. And then now what I did also, knowing that what I was going to do next was going to take longer shutter speed times, was I put the camera on a tripod. So I put the camera on a tripod, lined it all up, went click, and this one at f2.8, it automatically adjusted it to a 40th of a second. Right now, at f2.8, we've got a very, very wide aperture, which gives us a very shallow depth of field. So what we can see here is that there's a bit of sharpness here, and you've not got to curve much around the bauble before it's already going out of focus. Your depth of field is very shallow, very narrow indeed. Okay, and what that means is that the lights, the little string of fairy lights that's hanging around it in the background here, has all fuzzed out. It is wide and creamy, and you can bits and pieces here reflecting and soft, and so that's your kind of standard wide aperture creamy bokeh effect. So keeping everything exactly the same, camera on the tripod, 500 ISO. What I then did was I changed the aperture to f5.6, so from f2.8 to f5.6. And what we can see here is more of it has come into focus. Okay. But what's also happened is that on some of these, and noticeably it tends to happen where a light is kind of hitting some kind of object in the, like there's a little bit of twig in the way, you notice you're starting to get this kind of sparkle effect. You're starting to get like these little lines coming out, sort of slight starburst bit. What we can also see, as I said here, it was earlier, whereas now more of this is in focus as well. So then what I did was I went from f5.6, keeping everything else exactly the same, and I dialed it up to f8. So f5.6 to f8, and you can see again now with f8 we're getting a narrower aperture, and more of the background is starting to come into focus. What was previously you maybe couldn't make out, down here there's a red shape, there's a yellow shape. As we come to here, you can now start to see that we've got a heart shape ornament here, and we've got a star, yellow star inside a circle shape up here. We're also starting to notice that whereas before these were just lights, we're now starting to notice the string of the fairy lights as well. But also some of these bits of starburst are beginning to get stronger, and over here we can start to notice a little bit more starburst here. So again, 500th of a second sitting on the, now at this point this took down this, I'm now it's shooting at a fifth of a second. Okay, so then I took it up to f13, and at f13 it's now gone to half a second. So this is the whole reason for having the tripod. So you can see the difference between f8 and f13. Now more of it's coming into focus. We get, bigger depth of field, more of a starburst. This one's really coming out. This one's really going for it. Okay, we're noticing up here, this one particularly as well. So this and even this little one down here, which hadn't really been noticeable before, is starting to get its own little starburst effect. And even something hidden over here, there's tiny little bits of starburst starting to happen on that. So you can see as we're narrowing the aperture, we're getting more starburst effect, less soft creamy bokeh. So then the next one, this is f16, and this took 1/8 of a second. Sorry, 0.8 of a second. Sorry, not 1/8 of a second, 0.8 of a second. So almost a full second. And we can see here that again, with each step, we're seeing more of it. This one then, f22, and this one, f32. So f32, this is a 3.2 second exposure. And now we're noticing other things, like we've actually got a Christmas pudding decoration in the background. We're starting to see stuff right through in the back. Over here, we can start to see the corner. You can't quite see it from there, but there's extra decorations. You can see the heart very clearly. You can see the star very clearly. But look at these starbursts. These starbursts are absolutely incredible, completely and utterly going for it. So even tiny little ones that weren't getting noticed before, we've got starburst. So pretty much off almost every light of any particular size, we've got these fantastic trails of light starbursting all over the place. So if we go back then and compare that to our f2.8, you can see the massive difference. And so this is what happens when you have a very wide aperture, and this is what happens when you have a very narrow aperture. So it's not just a case of the fact that you end up with more depth of field, and so therefore you can see there's more of it's in focus. It's also about the fact, the quality of the way the light is. So to go back then to your picture at night time, or what have you, really the best thing to think about is, I would say, your aperture. Now, part of this is going to come down to, are you handheld with your camera? I mean, if 40th of a second is to get a wide aperture, if you're starting at 40th of a second, you might be able to do handheld if you're leaning against something and you're being very, very careful. To get down, you can't hand hold something for 3.5 seconds and still expect it to be in focus. So that then means having a tripod, or resting it on a wall or a post or the top of a car or something like that, whatever else you find it easy, but essentially you need to keep the camera steady to take your photo. But the real thing here is to play with your aperture, because the aperture is then going to make all the difference in the world to the lights. And when you get that starburst, that really emphasizes that notion of the kind of twinkly lights that we find fun, or you can go for that kind of soft creamy bokeh. So I hope that was a bit of fun. It was kind of fun for me to get out the camera and just kind of check and play around and sort of see, because I've talked before about this idea, I think once or twice, but I don't think I've ever actually sat down and done the full set of photos from one spot, just purely changing the aperture, allowing the shutter speed to automatically change itself on the camera. So that was quite a fun thing to do. So I hope you found that one useful. Okay, a couple more comments here. We've got, where are we? April says, very pretty. Nadia says, lovely image. I love night photography. There's something about the lights at night. Stacey says, love the giant red Christmas balls. I believe that has done the same in Centre City, Philadelphia. They also have a Christmas village. Rosemary says, the oversized Christmas balls are really lovely. I can't imagine just how much storage space they require in the off-season. Yeah, I wonder if they flat pack. April says, one day I got to get to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Oh, Bethlehem, right, for Christmas. It is supposed to be amazing. Rosemary says, thanks for the detailed illustration on the qualities of bokeh in relation to aperture size. Very helpful. By going to such depth should help our memories. Good. I hope you remember that one and sticks with you. The best thing to do is actually try it out. Maybe after this, after the podcast, if you've got time, or later in the day or the evening, set up your camera on a tripod. I mean, it really is worth doing. Find a bit of Christmas tree, or if you've got candles in the background or something, get something in the foreground to focus on. Go absolutely wide aperture, and then just keep narrowing it down. Take photo after photo and then compare them side by side. And I think if you actually go, there's one thing me telling you, but if you actually physically do it, it then should pretty much stay in your head forever. April says, I love the bokeh look. Viji says, the huge Christmas balls, love them. And Stacey says, good way of illustrating. I recently did a small shoot, but didn't use my tripod. Tripod, it all depends on your shutter speed, really, with that one. Like I say, I think the main thing with everybody's got a sort of a certain level at which you can hand hold a camera before you your own personal kind of hand wobble will start to make a photograph blurred if your shutter speed gets too low. And then if you've got a zoom lens, you have to remember that accentuates it as well. So if you know that you can go down to 100th of a second, you're happy with that, then do that. Generally speaking, I don't much tend to like doing handheld below about 160th of a second if it's an important photo. 125th, 100th of a second, if I can have to go to 100th of a second, I'll make sure I'm trying to lean on something. I'm using other ways of trying to keep it steady. Unless I've got a wide angle lens, I might go down to an 80th of a second. 40th of a second handheld I wouldn't like to do, but I know other people who feel perfectly comfortable doing that. So you find what works best for you. So what is it? Oh, Stacey says, April is quite beautiful. If you decide to, I only live an hour away. April saying, wow, Stacey, I would love to meet up. And Stacey, okay, well, there you go. You can have a meet up. So Stacey and April are busy now making conversation about how they could possibly meet up, and I think that would be kind of fun. Maybe we should do something like that next year as well. In Britain, we could have an Understanding Photography Kimmer's meet up somewhere for anybody who happens to be here. And if you've got other ones around the world where you can meet up, then do. Why not use this much more for a social occasion? Okay, so let's move on then. And next we're going to go for Nadia. So Nadia sent in this photo, which I thought was rather lovely, and said, I thought I would have some fun playing with light. And I think this is a great one. She sent a couple of different ones and asked which was her favourite. She said this one. No, she didn't actually. She said for me to choose. So this was my favourite out of the ones Nadia sent. But I particularly like this one. I like that idea. Here we've got the Christmas bauble, but instead of having it on a tree, it's been isolated, put with a black background, and then you've got a single shaft of light coming down. It's picking up what looks like we've got a kind of nice glittery foreground here as well, and shadows. And so it's yeah, I like it. I think it's a really lovely shot there, Nadia, and a slightly different take on the traditional kind of Christmas bauble that you might see hanging on a tree or sitting huge out by the out by the fountain in New York somewhere. So yeah, that's a really pretty one, Nadia. So thank you for sending that one in. Smug points to you there. So April says, if ever I go to Scotland, I plan on meeting you, Kim. Yeah, absolutely, please do. If anybody is ever coming in Scotland, let me know you're coming, and we should definitely do some kind of meet-up. What else we got here? Viji saying, agreed, only when tried the information stays in the mind, we can recall easily. I had difficulty remembering what aperture, shutter speed, ISO, etc., but as I started taking it became easier. And it's true, in the end, it's the taking the photos which really it creates the memories, and it carves the pathways, muscle memories, mental memories. We can learn as much theory as we like, but if we don't put it into practice, our photography is never really going to develop. So you need to be out there taking photos, and as I said many times before, don't worry about all the photos that don't work. The ones that don't work are where you learn. The ones that work, they're the ones we get praise for, and praise is lovely, but we don't necessarily learn from them. We learn from all the ones we get wrong. So you have to learn to embrace that idea of continually taking photos, and lots of them. What else have we got? Rosemary says, lovely Nadia, looks like a greeting card photo, composition so pretty. Viji says, lovely photograph, Nadia. And Stacey says, one day when I'm taking a trip across the pond. Yeah, and April, I know there are some beautiful sights. And Nadia says, thank you. Brilliant. Okay, so where are we? Okay, April. Yes, April sent us... Where's your photo gone? Ah, there we go. April sent us this one. I was delighted because It's funny. I was out for a walk the other evening, and there are some houses you go past where, there are some houses you walk past, and there's nothing. There are some houses where you have a little holly wreath on the door. There are some houses where they've put their Christmas tree in the window and don't always fully close the curtains, so there's always a nice little kind of glow coming out. And then there are some people who start putting the lights around the windows and the house, and then there are some people who start putting stuff into the garden, and it becomes a kind of full grotto experience. But nothing have I seen is on the scale of this. This is wow. This is the kind of things I think you take your kids out and go for a walk and just sort of stand there and stare, quite incredible. April says, a house that is decorated just a couple of streets away. I mean, this is so full of everything. I mean, how many, a lot of these look like they're kind of inflatable ones. Definitely inflatable Santas over here. I guess that's how they pack them up. Otherwise, there's going to be a definite storage problem for a lot of these as well. But they don't all look inflatable. Some of these look like they've got wire frames. So yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, that's definitely got some kind of frame system to the snowman here. I did wonder if anybody would take a photo of somebody's house all lit up and wow. I mean, regardless of whether it's to your taste or whether you would ever do it yourself, you've got to absolutely respect anybody who's going to go out and go to this degree of putting stuff up in the garden. So slight little shame here that is slight notice under here. This area is under 24-hour video. Presumably they put it there to try and ward off vandals who might come in and smash the place up, which is a real shame. The idea that that kind of thing happens, and so anybody feels like they've got to try and prevent it from happening. But that aside, beautifully colourful, quite amazing. Well spotted, April. Thank you for sending that one in. Smug points to you there. And so what else we got? Viji said, wondering how many people will enter the house. Stacey said, my neighbour's house looks very similar. Maggie says, amazingly exuberant, over the top, makes me smile. April says, yes, we have a lot of these around. One of them ended up on a TV show. Meg says, absolutely fantastic, April. Photo April, I love it. Stacey says, I did take one with my phone. Rosemary says, wow, that's wildly festive. Nadia says, wow, wonder how long it all took to set up. And April says, my pleasure, thanks all. Excellent. Okay, right, so the last one I'm going to move on to now is Robert. Now, Robert sent in the image. He will watch the catch-up, probably isn't watching live because he's Robert and Anne are over in Europe at the moment. I can't remember whether they're still in France or whether they've moved on somewhere else. They're doing a kind of, but they're on a kind of festive trip at the moment. So what Robert sent in, where are we? This photo, yeah, and says, here is a Christmas photo that I took in Rothenburg, Germany, December 2019. It is in black and white because I could not figure out how to get colour settings back. In fact, I had no idea all my photos were in black and white until I came back home. This was on Anne's old Nikon camera and was taken before I took an interest in photography. We're going back to this town next week on our way to Nuremberg, so I may get a colour version of this guy if he's still here. Oh, I feel for you, Robert. There's just that sense that I mean, there's Robert's well into his photography now, as we know. He's been regular contributor to these podcasts for the last 2 years or more. But this is before he really got into photography. He was using Anne's camera, and it was set for the black and white. And because it was set on black and white, all the photos he took were on black and white. He hadn't even realised that till he got home, and then found that they were all taken in black and white, and he couldn't get the colour back. I mean, it's quite a fun photo in its own right. We've got our kind of Santa type thing, or it's kind of looks like a musical organ with a little monkey here, some kind of xylophone on the side, all looking very festive. Big tree, people in a kind of winter Christmas market here in town in Germany, in where did you say? Rothenburg, Germany. So quite a fun. Now I know, unfortunately, if you took the raw files on the camera, the raw file should still be in colour. So if you have the raw files, you should still be able to refine the colour one. However, the fact that you said you couldn't get the colour back makes me feel like maybe it was just set for JPEG only, and it was taken with a black and white setting. So not huge amounts you can do, but there are some bits you can actually do. So what I wanted to do now is I'm just going to go off on another little teachy bit for those of you who have Photoshop. But even if you don't, you can still take, if you've got a reasonable editing program, there are some kind of things you can do a little bit with this. So let me just open this up on Photoshop. Let's change the layout so you can see what's going on. So what I wanted to talk about here is we've got a picture, and if you've got Photoshop and you've got the latest version, Photoshop CC Creative Cloud, which means it's constantly updating and downloading you the latest version, rather than having, say, a Photoshop 6 that you have on a CD and you've not updated it for several years. They have various bits and pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Filter, Neural Filters. And one of the things they've got now in Neural Filters is you can go to, they've got a colour bit here, and they've got colourise, which is designed specifically to help. It says colourise helps with the recolorization of black and white photos. So if we switch that on, you can now see our picture has become colour. Now I can output to the direct layer, or I can output it to a new layer, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click OK here, and what that allows us to do is have the colour on the black and white like that. Now another option here, let's just redo this. I'm going to go Filter, Neural Filters. Another option is if I do Colourise, and we've got our colour, I'm going to do, is it New Layer Masked? No, I'm sure there was a different option here. No, it isn't. Okay, forget that. I will come back to it. I'll come back to it because I'll show you. I did something else before, can't remember how I did it. However, I do know another way of recreating it, so I'm going to talk you through that. So what we have here then is, let's just go back to this one. So what this has done is it's coloured in, it's taken a guess. So this is the whole thing with neural, the whole AI thing, which seems to be exploding all over the place. With a lot of you may have seen there are new programs out which will create your face in all sorts, or you can give it phrases and it will create art for you, or rather, it will create something that looks like it's been painted or drawn or sketched, and all you've got to do is type in words and give it instructions. But if you think about face recognition software, the idea that the AI can work out what is a face, what is an eye, these kind of things have been around for a while, and it's forever getting more and more sophisticated. So what this has done is this has recognised that there's a tree, and that the tree itself should be green. It's recognised that there's a person here, and we've got a kind of flesh colour on the face. And so these faces around here have got flesh. There's another bit of green here, and it's got green there. So actually, despite the fact that it was black and white, it's kind of made up colours. Now, whether it's got the colours accurate or not, probably unlikely. We've got cobblestones that are very kind of blue slate grey on this side, and we've got cobblestones which are kind of browny green or on this side, even though they're obviously the same cobblestones. Some of these, I doubt whether this monkey was really particularly pink. I would guess that the colouring of this monkey's jacket was probably red or green. Now, and also in our Santa here, they've given our Santa a green and white jacket, but they've also given him a very pink beard. I think the chances of it's not out the question that this was accurate, but I think it's probably fairly unlikely that he actually had a pink beard. And he may well have had a red cloak and not a green one. Now that's not guaranteed, because there are various there are the Green Man Santas, or they're not really Santa, they're a kind of version of throughout Northern Europe, but mostly these days we expect to see our Father Christmas, Saint Nicholas type outfits in red rather than green. So, and then again, this jacket looks very kind of patchy in itself. and this person's face obviously didn't get put in at all, so it does look like the zombie apocalypse is about to kick off in the background. But it gives you a start, that kind of hand-coloured tint. Now, there is a way you can kind of do this yourself if you want to take a black and white photo. And what I was going to do, so let's go back to the black and white photo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. This layer I'm then going to make grey. So I can do it white, but you just want some kind of mid-level grey, something like that. And then I'm going to fill the layer with grey. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the way this layer interacts with the layer below it. So instead, in this case, I've got with Photoshop, I've got normal. I can go down and I can take it. I'm going to do colour. There's an option down here for colour. And because the colour is grey, and this is a black and white photo, whether it's on or off doesn't seem to make any difference. However, this is the next bit I'm going to do. Supposing then that what I do is I choose red, okay, and I decide to paint onto this layer. What I can do is I can see, I just decide to paint in red like that. I can now start to sort of colorise the picture. Maybe I want this sledge as red as well. Now, I'm just going to do this very, very roughly, just to kind of show you, now you might want to sort of start playing around with masks and all sorts of other things. Now, I will just say, actually, what I've also got here is this opacity is down to 23%. Maybe I should have, I'll tell you what, let's go back here. I should have put that on. If I do it on 100%, what happens is you'll notice it's very, very garish and probably way too loud. So really, I would say start with something softer. Somewhere between 25 or 30%, something like that. I've got that on 27, and I think that's probably about as much as you need to do. Now, like I say, if you want, you can kind of go in and just start kind of painting this up to the degree, the level you want. So you can do these kind of greens, sort of reds, sorry, or you can, again, paint it over, do it a bit stronger. You can mask it up, take bits off. Then what you maybe want to do, they had a kind of sort of, well, kind of pinky fleshish colour, just kind of paint in the faces a little bit, something like that. Or we'll take the zombie and we'll actually give them a little bit of flesh on the face. And so in essence, what you can do by doing this is you can go through and you can start to paint it up. If we take a darkish green, kind of dark tree green or something like that. Now, I'm not going to, what the great thing about the AI is that it's nowhere to end. What I'm just going to do is a very rough thing here where, of course, it's going right over all the edges. But the point being is that you can see that what you can start to do is essentially colour in your own photo. So it all depends how much you want to play around with this, or whether you want to actually do a similar version, that you start with the colour version here, see what Photoshop will do for you, and then create your own colour version over the top of it. So you can, you can take what's there and then, actually, let me just mask it. I'll tell you what, let's go back to that mid-range grey a sec and just, I'll paint out yeah, okay, I'm just, oh no, yeah, okay, the grey of course is making that black and white again. So what I would maybe do is mask out and then mask back in. So if I, of course I need to put that on 100%, I mask that out. So I go back to the original, start painting it. Point being is that you can kind of add your own levels to it if you want as well. So lots of ways to play. In fact, actually, I just wonder, maybe if you just sort of do that and you just keep it neutral and put that to colour, would that do the same thing? Maybe you don't need the grey overlay. If I just change that to red from, I'm doing all this completely live, so if I mess this up, this will be forever caught. And then let's just change that to, yep, that works just as well. Just create an empty layer. You don't have to worry about it being grey. Just set the overlay option to colour, and you can recolour. So you decided you want, or we can go to swap that to a grey colour just to kind of neutralise the beard a bit, because maybe we don't want the pink beard on our Santa. Maybe we do. Maybe we want to give it a different colour. The point is that what you can really do, if you want, is you can use something like the Photoshop, or I'm sure some of these other programs might have something similar. So the neural filters recolorize the photo for you, and then you can go in and edit it and make the little touches and changes where the AI hasn't quite managed to do it in the way that you would want. So that's really kind of what I wanted to show with that. So I hope you found that one useful, Robert. That's, you know, one way of recolorizing your photos if you want to do it. However, if you've got a whole batch from your holiday, I'm sure you're not really going to want to do all that, but the writing it off to experience. Right, okay, so a couple more comments here. So it says, April says, oh, this has a very vintage look. Stacey also says very vintage looking, Robert. Rosemary says, the black and white mix up for your whole trip would be heartbreaking, although you made the best of it. What a great excuse to go back. Stacey's laughing at my zombie apocalypse comment. Rosemary says, who knew what a cool trick with colorizing using the way a color layer interacts? And Stacey says, great way to colorize the photograph. So hope you found that useful. Quick reminder for anybody, if you have found these podcasts over the past year or 3 years nearly useful, interesting, entertaining, and you would like to support them in any way, then buymeacoffee.com/Kim Ayres, or maybe at this time of year it ought to be buy me a hot chocolate with extra cream and marshmallows and a candy stick sticking in the top. So, yes, that brings us pretty much to the end. So, as I said now, there won't be a podcast next week because it will be Christmas Day, and the Sunday afterwards is New Year's Day, so likewise there won't. A week after that, on the 8th, what we're going to do is we're going to do the best of 2022. So what I want you to do is rummage through your photos, go back, find your favourite or best photo, and I'm going to leave it up to you as to whether it's your best or your favourite and how you define that. Maybe it's the one you got most awards with, maybe it's the one everybody else heaped praise upon, maybe it's one that you just took and you thought, you know what, I am so damn pleased with this because of the way it turned out, maybe the problems you had to overcome to do it, whatever it is, your definition of best. So that's going to be for the 8th of January. So make sure you get your photos in, put them into the Facebook group. If you go to Understanding Photography with Kim Ayres, type that into Facebook if you're not already there. Join the group and stick your photo in there. Tell me a bit about the story. Tell me a bit about why it's your favourite or why it's your best photo of 2022. Likewise, if you don't do Facebook, email it to me, kim@kimayres.co.uk. And then the first one back in January, on the 8th of January, our first podcast of the next year, we will go back through and find out what everybody feels was there. I think it's a good way to start the year. Start the new year is a great way to celebrate the best of the past year and to see how we can go about improving on what we've done. So that's going to be us. Happy Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy solstice. Happy whatever happens, happy birthday for some of you as well. Have fun, enjoy yourself. Christmas can be a wonderful time. It can also be a very difficult time for a lot of people as well. But connect. That's the real thing. I think the real thing more than anything else is find ways to connect. If you have family you get on with, then obviously that's the ideal. But for some people, they don't have family, or they don't have family they particularly get on with, or, life can be particularly difficult. But we survive, we have evolved as creatures where we operate best when we're connected with other people. Wherever possible, try and connect. And of course, everybody here, at the very least, we have the connection with each other where you can. We've got the Facebook group for those who use it. Post in that over Christmas. Wish each other a happy Christmas. If you've got any funny little photos, stick them in. We don't have to. Certainly, I want you to put in your best of 2022, but also use the Facebook group as a place to socialise as well. So, okay, we've got the last few people saying, wishing everybody Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkahs and what have you. So, yeah, wishing you all the best. Have a wonderful festive season, brilliant new year, and I'll see you all next year. Now, I just have to figure out which button I'm supposed to press next, and then I would like to say I would have more control over the technical stuff by next year, but after 2.5 years of doing this and still managing to mess up, there's absolutely no guarantees. Take care. Have a wonderful festive season. Cheerio.